Today, we have Cornell William Brooks, president of the NAACP, on with us. How you doing this morning, sir?
Hey, I'm doing well, my brother. How are you doing?
We're doing great. You know, I'm not as refined as you are, sir, in my delivery of our reality. So we wanted to have you on because people of color in this country, women in this country, have been disappointed by our president this time, and those of us that have lived long enough, we've been here before, but it just doesn't feel like we've made any progress at this turn. What's your interpretation?
Well, my interpretation is not unlike yours. People are disappointed. They're disappointed for good reason. Where across the country you have children who arrived in school on Wednesday morning feeling afraid, feeling like they were going to be deported, feeling like they were going to be made fun of because of the color of their skin or the shape of their eyes, or because the person the country selected as president disrespects women. And so many of our little girls felt disappointed. So people aren't right, aren't wrong to feel disappointed. They're in fact right. When in North Carolina, the Klan announces that they're going to have a celebration. North Carolina, the very state where we caught the state legislature, the courts caught them red-handed, suppressing, stealing black votes.
That's right.
So the people are not wrong to feel disappointed, perhaps even a little angry. When the Klan celebrates, people have a reason to mourn, but we can't just mourn. We got to plan, we have to organize, we have to protest in the streets, litigate in the courts, and make our case for reform and do what we need to do to take charge and take control of our own communities and our own destiny. So you're not right, and I'm not sure if I'm being refined, but I'm trying to be honest.
Yeah, no, you sound very refined, you know, because I'm up here going to war with people I disagree with, screaming F Donald Trump and things like that, because I don't subscribe to the notion, while I respect the position of the president, I don't have to like him, right? I don't have to endorse him. Right, I'm a tax-paying citizen. I go to work every day. I'm not in the streets being violent. I don't promote violence, but I do promote freedom of speech, and the freedom in America of speech is that I don't like the image and tone that our president has set for our country. But I am in some ways happy to know that, you know, Hillary won the popular vote. Unfortunately, the Democrats didn't do their job in Pennsylvania and Michigan and Wisconsin, so we didn't win the electorate. And it is disheartening, you know, to see the numbers that, you know, upwards of 49% didn't even show up to vote.
That's right.
So voting was at I don't know if it was an all-time low, but in the last, 12 years,
pretty low.
It's the lowest.
Very low. And here's what we know. We know that across the electorate, not just African Americans, but people in general do not show up to vote in the way they have in the past. Only 50% of the people voted. Now, with that being said, we've got to be clear on this. The election results cannot be blamed on African Americans.
No.
We as African Americans, we as people of color, we as people who love one another, don't want to see one another demeaned and demagogued and dehumanized. We have to focus on the future. That's very, very clear. And I would note here, because I think it's really important to think about this, it's not just that insufficient voters failed to show up, it's also that votes were suppressed and denied. So
there's factual evidence of that.
Oh, absolutely. In the course of this campaign, you had no less than 10 cases of voter suppression documented in the courts.
Wow.
So within only a few days of the election, we caught North Carolina officials purging over 4,000 votes.
Wow.
A federal district court judge said this is not the 1900s, this is 2016. That's within days of the election. The North Carolina State Conference and the NAACP literally put back into play 5% of the electorate in terms of votes. Over in Texas, we literally saved 600,000 votes that were endangered by going to court. So the point being here is that the people fought for the right to vote because they understood, and the NAACP understands, that the right to vote, as to say, the ballot box or the polling place is not red, white, and blue. It is literally colored the blood, sweat, and tears of our people who sacrificed for the right to vote. So we got to right the aim, but we also have to be focused. We also have to be disciplined. We also have to make a plan for the future.
Right.
And that means certainly not going to inauguration parties and sipping the wine or champagne, but focusing on what we need to do to bring Atlanta in.
And how about this? Not going to the inauguration at all.
Well, let me put it this way. Perhaps having an inauguration party in Washington that's a protest, demonstration, make our policy agenda clear party is a good inauguration party.
Okay.
Right? So in other words, let us not get drunk with the champagne, rather be sobered by the facts, sobered by the reality we face, and make our case. Because at the end of the day, it's the president and the White House do not control our destiny. We control our destiny. And I think it's important for us to have more confidence in ourselves as a people than we have fear of anyone in the White House.
That's right.
That's just a matter of history.
Now, how are we going to address what is happening with our Native American brothers and sisters with the Dakota Access Pipeline? They say the Keystone Pipeline is now going to be set in motion, and many people who have family that's Native American love the environment. We have another battle on our hands that is like happening right in this moment, where you have individuals at law enforcement level that feel empowered by the fact that Donald Trump is the president and may begin to behave a certain way. I know that's kind of a cloudy question, kind of complicated, but one is, how are we going to support our Native American brothers and sisters and make sure their land isn't disrespected and their needs are met? And then also, how are we going to brace ourselves for some of these law enforcement individuals who, even under Obama, felt the need to be militaristic and oppressive, and now with someone like Trump, who is speaking that from the White House, the highest office in the land, are now going to even take it a step further. Like, what preparations and what conversations and what activity are we going to get from the NAACP to support us?
Yes, and thank you for lifting up the cause of our Native brothers, our Native American brothers and sisters. One of the things I think is important for us to understand is the desecration and the taking of Native American land reminds us of what happened at the very birth of the nation, the birth of this country. It also reminds us of the struggles of African Americans, particularly in the South, to hold on to the land that was handed down from generation to generation after the Civil War. So we have to stand in solidarity with our Native American brothers and sisters in protest, in demonstration, in making the case in the courts, and certainly for corporate America. We're going to do that. Focusing on this election, we've done all that we could do, and we'll continue to do more there, but we're going to intensify our efforts in terms of the Native American struggle, in terms of standing rock. Trust me, we're going to do that. Now, with respect to the police, here's what we know. A young black man is 21 times more likely to lose his life at the hands of the police than his white counterpart. We know thus far this year, the number of people who died at the hands of the police is up 50%. In any given year, 950 and 1,000 people died at the hands of the police. We have a set of policies to address that in terms of ending racial profiling, in terms of the body cams, dash cams, that kind of thing, but also changing the way policing is done. As I've always said, as the NAACP says, black people are not objects of suspicion. We are subjects of protection, particularly for people. We pay their salaries, we pay for those badges, we pay for those uniforms.
Well, and Mr. Brooks, Mr. Cornell William Brooks, all people. We're just like any. The fact that we even have to make the the delineation that, hey, black people, it's supposed to be all people.
That's exactly it. But might we, let's take note of this. There are places in the country where we not made it perfect, but we made it better. Dallas was worse, it's better as a city. Cincinnati was worse, it's better, not perfect.
New York City was worse, it's better.
That's right. 5 million stops, 90% of which didn't result in the confiscation of contraband of drugs. We've tried to change and change that policy of stop and frisk, which I've always said is really another way of saying detain, demean, and dehumanize. So we can do this. The point being here is that places in the country where we've gotten it better, we can change this as a matter of federal policy by passing laws in Congress. We know what those laws are, but we can also do it at the city level, at the block level, in our communities. We just got to double down. But we need to be clear about this. Just because there's a change in the White House does not mean that we are defeated. It may mean a change in strategy, a change in our approach. It may mean an intensification of our efforts. But let me put it this way. This is not the time for hand-wringing, worry, pessimism. It's not a time for us to lose faith in our ability to affect change.
Thank you for taking time. Obviously, this is the first of many conversations we're going to have here at Ebro in the Morning on Hot 97. I kind of tend to break things down to understand the concept of what time really is and what 4 years is going to look like. So if once a week for 52 weeks out of the year, we got to re-engage, reignite, that kind of makes it easier for people to digest when you think about it in form of weeks or months.
Yes.
Right? The fact that we can get through this 4 years, we can stay diligent, we can stay focused, and we do know by looking at the numbers, there were several issues, but we also know that Donald Trump as president of the United States is not the majority's favorite, right? He is not. He does not represent a coming together, if you will, of the country. He represents a moment in time that takes us a step back, and really the people who are celebrating him are really like horrible skeletons of our past that we're trying to get rid of. And they just won't get out of our life. It's like a bad relationship.
Disgusting.
It's like, yo, why you still texting me, bro?
Yeah.
It's like I told you I didn't like you.
Yeah. But you know what, Ebro, I wanted to ask Mr. Brooks a question. What message do you have for the parents that are dealing with these horrible things that I've been seeing closely on social media when their children are going to school and seeing groups of children, holding Trump signs and screaming white power, or our Muslim sisters getting their hijabs ripped off their heads, or Latinos being harassed at school? Everyone's angry, and a lot of us have experienced this, but now it's louder than ever. So as a parent, I know a lot of parents are lost and don't know how to talk to their children and don't know how to go about it. What message do you give them? What's the right way to approach this?
Thank you so much for that question. Let me answer in 2 words: love and courage. We have to love our children, support who they are, support their beauty and their brilliance, but also courage. What I mean by courage to report what seems to be a hate crime, the courage to fight back against any form of intimidation in the classroom or religious bigotry, and that means reporting to the local branch or the state conference, the NAACP, reporting any hate crimes to local law enforcement and the FBI. We take this kind of thing very seriously, and where we've seen hate crime spike. In other words, there's a connection between the rhetoric you hear on the campaign trail. So in other words, we're seeing as a country a kind of selfie of those violent campaign rallies. We're now seeing it in our streets and in our schools. But we have to have love and courage, and the courage to stand up and protect our children. And that means calling on law enforcement to do their jobs, but also calling on the community to do its job, and the NAACP and all other civil rights groups to be vigilant, because we have to be in these schools. If your child is brutalized, if your child is humiliated, don't just report it to the principal. Report it to law enforcement and report it to the NAACP, and let's make sure that we ensure that schools are designed, they are what in fact they were designed to be, places where our children are educated and nurtured, not humiliated and demeaned. And that's something we can do.
Listen, thank you for your time today. And like I said, hopefully we're going to be talking again soon, yes?
I would love to. Listen, we need to talk on an ongoing, weekly basis. I would love to do that.
Cornell William Brooks, president of the NAACP. We appreciate your time today, and let's keep working.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. We will work.
All right. Thank you very much.
Thank you.